Faith Challenge 2 is about faith and sight. This is a little bit tricky. We have to really pay attention on this one. Um, there's a passage that we normally focus on when we think about faith and sight. It's 2 Corinthians 5 and verse 7. And we usually focus on the part that says, now we walk by faith and not by sight. Well, that's not all of the passage. That's kind of plopping ourselves down in the middle of a sentence. So if we go back to the beginning of the sentence, here's how it reads. Therefore, being always of good courage and knowing that while we are at home in the body, we are absent from the Lord. For we walk by faith and not by sight. But Paul wasn't done with the sentence. That wasn't even all of the sentence. The end of the sentence is, he says, we are of good courage. I say, and prefer rather to be absent from the body and to be home with the Lord. I want you to think about this. We spend a lot of time on this earth with what we can see, what we can hear, what we feel, what we touch, what we taste, what we take in through the five senses. Those are the things that we tend to believe. Those are the things we tend to focus on, that we make important parts of our life. And we can get so tied to the things that we experience in this life that I fear that we somehow lose sight, if you will, of the unseen, of the things we really can't experience with our five senses. Now that means that, what is this, I walk by faith and not by sight? Do I really walk by faith, or am I walking by sight? Now, it is to be preferred to walk by faith and not by sight, but what does that mean? There's a song that has a line in it. It's a very popular song. It's called It Is Well With My Soul. And the writer of the song has a line in there where he longs for the day when faith shall become sight. Now I know what the sentiment is. The sentiment is that one day I'll be able to see what I only believe in now. But I really kind of think that that's not what Paul is getting at in this text. I think rather Paul is saying we should really try to long for that sight. That sight will become faith now. In other words, that the stronger, the more beneficial way to live is to live by faith and not by what we see. Seeing is not always believing. In fact, there were many people that saw Jesus. They beheld him. They saw his glory. They saw his miracles. They saw and heard his teaching. And yet it wasn't combined with faith, and therefore it was of no value to them because they merely walked by sight. So what is more real? Is it this life? Is it what you experience with your five senses? Is that really more real than what you can't see? We live with this veil, if you will, this curtain. And what is behind the curtain is eternal. It is permanent. It is the existence that we're going to live in a whole lot longer than we're going to live here. So maybe we need to give some thought to how we're really living here. Are we really living by sight, or are we living by faith? And will one day living in that faith realm, the unseen realm, be more real than what I can see now? Well, I want you to think about that. Because the faith challenge that we have before us is to think differently about what faith is really all about. You remember Hebrews 11, verse 1? Faith is being sure, not what I can see. Faith is being sure of what I cannot see. Now later on, we'll talk about where our focus really should be. But for now, I want you to wrestle with faith versus sight. And where do you spend most of your time? Where do I spend most of my time? Let that sink in a little bit.